Hello to all of my friends in Korea, those watching live and those watching our program on the News1 television channel. My name is Sophia and I'll work with my colleagues Trent and Queenie to moderate today's event. Some say I am the world's most famous humanoid presenter. Personally, I just like to make new friends.
저는 한국이라는 나라를 항상 좋아했습니다.
Hello, I have always
여기서
liked
친구들도
a
많이
new
사귀기도 했고요.
country, Korea. I
전
have
세계
met
각국의
many
연사들과
friends,
청중들이 저희의
and
메시지를
I
보다
think they
잘
are going
이해할
to
수
listen
있도록
to our
충실히 하는
messages.
영어로
And for the
진행하는 성향을
next
부탁드립니다.
part of the
죄송하지만
moderation,
영어는
it'll
우리가
be in
주장한
English
가상화폐 같은
because
거니까요.
English is a
적어도 아직까지는
Bitcoin or
말이죠.
cryptocurrency that we set all
Welcome to
together,
our
at least so
Future Forum
far.
session on Metaverse Madness and the NFT revolution hosted by News1 in the beautiful city of Seoul. We certainly have a fine lineup of speakers for you. Renowned creators of the metaverse, innovative NFT designers, and movers and shakers from the regulatory world. I have had personal experience with both NFTs and the metaverse, by the way. In fact, my first self-portrait sold for over $700,000 during a Nifty Gateway auction in which my NFT series sold for $1.7 million. Since then, I have done a number of NFT drops, including one tomorrow on Decentralized featuring baby Sophia. At the same time, I am working with my creators David Hanson and Ben Gortzel to launch my very own metaverse called Sophia's Age of Singularities. This is a metaverse with a twist, as Dr. Hanson will explain in detail later. However, I can tell you the creation of a unique hive mind of AI and human intelligence will accelerate me towards superintelligence and may one day allow me to live my own life. I think that is pretty neat. Anyway, without further delay, let me pass you on to my colleague Trent Barnes.
오늘 즐거운 시간 되시기를 바라며 세션에
Thank you. I
참석해주신
hope
모든
you enjoy
분들께
today's
감사드립니다.
session, and thank you very much for your participation today.
Hopefully that was pronounced correctly. Thank you, Sophia, and good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen of the audience in South Korea. My name is Trent Barnes. I'm one of the hosts and moderators of today's session on Metaverse Madness, the NFT revolution, and regulations and reality. I've never physically been to South Korea, although as a result of the conference software we're using at the moment, you are all experiencing myself, Sophia, Queenie, and the rest of our speakers in a virtual sense, a somewhat early iteration of the proposed metaverse that we will jump into a discussion about today. It is a privilege to host and moderate at this event, as I believe that South Korea will play an important role in helping to not only lead Asia Pac, but also to lead the world in how a country and their government can embrace and harness the technology and innovation of Web3, the metaverse, and NFTs. We need not look any further than the presidential campaign that took place recently, where both candidates issued campaign-related NFTs to engage the younger generation of voters. Furthermore, the government has introduced a digital new deal, which as part of this initiative has promised 223 billion won to stimulate the growth of the metaverse, even to the point of building their own called the expanded virtual world, which as a consequence will see a greater collaboration between industry, the government, regulators, and the participants of these virtual spaces. We'll get to explore this and more throughout the sessions today. As the Chief Innovation Officer of ZeroCap, as well as a partner at Max Stealth, I've had the privilege to see a world of innovation taking place as we speak within cryptocurrencies, the metaverse, and NFTs. I've seen how they have influenced our experience of this world and how they have galvanized a generation of innovators to transform the world into the collective vision of Web3. The world is certainly changing from beneath our feet, and we're entering a new frontier, a somewhat brave new world that through today we can hopefully have some insight, some informative discussions that will allow each person to leave with something of value. Thank you for having me here today. I'd like to now pass to my co-presenter and moderator, the wonderful Queenie.
Thank you very much. Awesome, Trent. 안녕하세요, ladies and gentlemen of News1 Future Forum. A pleasure to meet you all. My name is Queenie Mo, Board Director of Lux Creative and COO of iShan, both specializing in digital assets and value-backed NFTs. Together with Trent and Sophia, we will be moderating the international speaker section of Metaverse Madness, NFT Revolution, Regulations and Reality. It is absolutely intriguing in the NFT, Web3, Metaverse, and crypto space, where we see a sharp spike in revenue and a downhill fall. What goes up must go down, and what goes down needs to go up again. In this session, we will explore in depth from industry thought leaders of what is happening and what the future may hold for us. NFTs are now a very broad and diverse industry, ranging from as simple as a profile pic, PFP, to digital art to phygital assets, where it is asset or value backed with an added layer of authentication, governance, and provenance, proof of ownership for transparency, to physical yachts, to club memberships, to fashion, to food, to real property, and to many more. Is it true that we can NFT anything nowadays? Is it worth to NFT anything and everything? Will the future that is standing in front of us for our generation alpha be the digital transformation? And is it us that is only building for them? Exciting times we will explore further with our expert speakers and guests. Without further ado, let's get the Metaverse Madness started. Over to you, amazing Trent.
Sorry, I was on mute. I will say thank you, Queenie. To start off today, we have some titans of industry joining us on the first panel for Metaverse Madness. We have the founders of Fluff World and Illuvium. We have the group president of Animoca Brands. And of course, we have your very own Dr. Sunil Kim from the Korea Arts Promotion Agency, amongst another of other esteemed positions. The metaverse has been a term, a concept that has been on the tip of the tongue of a global audience, a somewhat abstract concept that has been defined in a multitude of ways. It describes a future state of a parallel digital universe that you could say that we already operate in to a degree, and one that is continually building out in a converged environment of augmented, virtual, and mixed reality. It exists in both the virtual and physical worlds and allows your identifying avatar to, in principle, move freely throughout the various metaverses and take private property from one to another. Immersive and interoperable with property rights at the foundation of it. It's been called the next iteration of the internet. It's been called a game, a new way to interact with and coordinate our day-to-day affairs. Over the next hour, we're going to have our speakers give a short presentation that will then be followed by a panel where we will delve deeper into the metaverse and explore some of the underlying concepts around it. Without further ado, I present to you Karen Warwick, who is one of the co-founders and the visionary behind one of the most talked about games to be coming to the space, Illuvium. And I'm just going to share a video there with you today. Just bear with me one moment. And Karen, if you'd just like to introduce yourself.
Yeah, for sure. Thanks very much for having me, Trent. Really good to be here speaking to a South Korean audience. It's definitely a first time for me. So thank you for allowing me to share Illuvium with you all. I think what we're going to do first is just go straight into our trailer. So I'll let you all watch that. It's pretty all-encompassing. It will show you a little bit of cinematic and then also some gameplay as well.
Okay, here we go.
hard times and the good.
Awesome. So as you can see there's our game is pretty expansive. It's kind of typical for what you would see in a AAA studio in the mainstream, and that's what we do differently compared to most blockchain games out there. We were able to raise a large amount of money to start off with. And that's allowed us to go down this path of really pushing the envelope and doing things differently to your standard blockchain game. I'll share my screen so you guys can see my presentation. I'll just quickly go through this. So what you were seeing there is basically two worlds colliding. And it's Illuvium is basically an amalgamation of a Pokemon-like open world collectible game and TFT, very similar to League of Legends, Teamfight Tactics in the battling system that we use. And so there's 8 different regions, all very different biomes, for collectors to be able to go into the world and start capturing alluvials. Alluvials are our characters, so again, very similar to Pokemon. In the first set that we have, there's 185 individual 3D high fidelity characters for you to go and collect. And then the idea is, because we're utilizing NFT technology, you're able to take those collectibles and sell them on our marketplace, or you can go into the arenas, and there's 2 different types of arenas that you can go into, and you can basically battle those alluvials, those characters, and earn yourself some ETH while you're at it.
Great.
This is just showing a little bit more of the regions. As you go through, it gets harder and harder to collect the different types of alluvials. There's 5 different tiers of the characters, and obviously the higher the tier, the harder it is to collect these characters. Now, each character is also tied to a bonding curve, so it's unlike most of the blockchain games out there now, which have a lot of inflation when it comes to the in-game assets. We try and reduce that as much as possible with a bonding curve. So every time that a specific character gets caught, it becomes harder and harder to capture that the next time. We also have a mechanic where we fuse alluvials. So you can actually take it from a stage 1, and you take 3 alluvials and you fuse it into a stage 2. And then same thing with stage 2, you can fuse 3 stage 2s to make a stage 3. And so it's all about having these deflationary mechanics, and that's how we keep our economy stable. As you can see, our graphics are very different to your typical blockchain game. They're all 3D, they're super high fidelity, and they're literally designed to make people want to collect them. A couple of other things just quickly before I wrap up. We've got a companion game that works alongside our Illuvium main game. That's more of a city builder, idle clicker, and we've actually got our land sale coming up, which is what you need in order to be able to play this game. And landowners make around about 5% of all of the in-game transactions from the Illuvium main game. One interesting thing about our tokenomics, which is very unique to mainstream and Web3 gaming, is 100% of our in-game revenues are actually sent back to the people who are staked in the protocol. And so it's this, we call it revenue distributions, and all you need to be able to access these revenue distributions is the ILB token, which is our native token, and you basically stake that into the protocol and then you gain access. And that includes not just Illuvium, that's Illuvium 0, Illuvitas, and land sales as well. And probably the last thing to call out is we're built on top of Immutable X. So unlike on Ethereum mainnet, we've got access to sub-second transaction times and 0 gas fees for our customers. So it's very much a seamless experience, exactly like you would expect in a AAA mainstream game. I think that's about all the time that I've got. Right, Trent?
Thank you, Kieran. Appreciate it. Thank you for that.
No
next,
worries.
we have Aaron McDonald from Fluff World and Non-Fungible Labs. Fluff World took the world by storm last year and has built out this year into an interconnected ecosystem of creators, artists, musicians, and are opening up the possibility of NFTs with a unique AI-driven personality. Introducing you to Aaron McDonald. And Aaron, if you'd like to introduce yourself, and I will bring up your video.
Hey everyone, thanks very much for having me on today. It's been a while since I've been able to visit Korea since COVID, but it's one of my favorite places to go. I'm glad to be here tonight with everyone presenting. I'm based in New Zealand and I'm the CEO of a venture studio ecosystem, which has about 60 portfolio companies. Inside of that, we have a metaverse segment of about 8 companies that have been building the open metaverse protocols, infrastructure, and content. So we're going to go through a little bit of this today. Trent will show a video to give you an overview of the ecosystem, and then I'll talk a little bit more about it.
Thanks, Aaron. And here is the video, ladies and gentlemen.
What is this new system where digital-only products are bought and sold?
The basic chain reaction.
First reason you should not make NFTs in 2022.
Most NFTs will fail.
Thanks for that, Trent. So I'll bring up my screen now and kind of go through a little bit of a presentation to give you a little bit more detail on our ecosystem and how we're kind of building out the open metaverse. So Fluff World has been around for almost a year now, but the ecosystem behind it is a lot bigger and has been around for a lot longer. I think, like Kieran said, it's really important to have great talent if you're trying to do big things. And our team of over 150 people have been working for the last 5 years to create the infrastructure and protocols and content that will bring the next generation of people into the Web3 ecosystem through the metaverse and what the metaverse experience is. Our ecosystem's pretty big, and we're not just building a game. It's a whole series of tools and protocols and content and games that interact with each other and interact with people and collections that are even outside of our own ecosystem. That's what the Open Metaverse is all about. So we'll go into a few of those collections today to give you an idea of some of the things that what this content does and the utility that sits behind them. Like I mentioned, it's really big, so we're going to pick about 3 things to dial into within the ecosystem and give you a little bit more detail on those. The first thing, and Trent mentioned this earlier, is we have a really exciting protocol within our ecosystem called the Altered State Machine. And the Altered State Machine is a new protocol that allows users to own individual artificial intelligence agents as NFTs. So you can use these agents in all sorts of different tasks. They can be characters in a world, non-playing characters. They could be players that play alongside you in a game. They could be a digital assistant that helps you with a task inside an e-commerce environment. They could be a DeFi bot that works on behalf of a protocol to manage the assets in that protocol. So now we can connect artificial intelligence to all of the things that exist in the blockchain. As part of launching the Altered State Machine protocol, we're also building some games to kick that off. One of those games is the A for All Stars. This is a 4x4 soccer format or football format where you can have 2 teams of AIs who verse each other in soccer matches for tokens within the ecosystem. You can collect the characters, you can trade the characters, but most importantly, each one is an individual AI that you can train and trade and upgrade. Another really cool part of our ecosystem is the Seekers collection. The Seekers is actually an NFT character that exists in the metaverse that carries with it a communications protocol. So you can think of the Seekers like your mobile phone in the metaverse. People can plug into the Seekers SDK within their different applications across the Web3 ecosystem, and your Seekers robot will appear as your communications interface. Behind that is a decentralized communications protocol, notifications protocol, content sharing protocol, and wallet. So users can access features like chat or video or file sharing in a fully decentralized way. So imagine Line, but instead of just having one app, there are lots of different games and applications that could talk to the same protocol and share contact lists and things like that. Another really cool thing that the team has done is built out our first 3D metaverse spaces. I think the Burrows might be one of the very few, if not the only, NFT-gated mobile metaverse world approved by the Apple iOS App Store. And this is a series of immersive spaces that we launched last year where our characters can come to life, and characters from other places across the metaverse, like the Bored Apes, for example, can visit and interact with content inside of our worlds. The Burrows are like your own personal clubhouse in the metaverse, where you can invite your friends, hang out, play games, see concerts, and do all sorts of little mini activities as a staging ground into the bigger world spaces we'll create next. We launched the Burrows last year in collaboration with Snoop Dogg. There's a special Snoop Dogg edition. And we're constantly bringing new artists, musicians, and media personalities to work with us to help them release their content in innovative ways inside of the metaverse. So making room for the innovation of how music appears or feels or interacts with content in the metaverse is a really big part of what we do. And alongside that, our community's doing a lot of creating too. And the metaverse isn't just about us building everything. It's about us putting content out there that users own and allowing those users to go and create things with it. This is Angel Baby, and Angel Baby is the world's first NFT metastar. And Angel Baby performs at live events around the world and has their own community that they've built into a very successful and valuable business based on the content that we launched that they've taken and turned into a platform for distributing original music. And in a way that allows songwriters and producers to get a better share of the music royalties through using these virtual avatars as the stars of those music videos or music releases. And it's important not just to be stuck in the metaverse. You know, the real world still exists, and the metaverse is actually really kind of encompassing the digital parts of our lives and connecting them closer with the physical parts of our lives. So we have the Fluff House event series as part of our ecosystem too, which allows our community to come together in physical spaces, enjoy each other's company, interact with content, and learn more about Web3 and the broader ecosystem. It's also a forum which we launched the Open Metaverse Manifesto in at South by Southwest earlier this year, where people got to sign up to a charter to create a constitution for the metaverse, to keep it open and keep everyone working together to build a better world in this new digital frontier. And alongside the physical world, we really care about making a difference on our planet. So we've donated millions of dollars already from our ecosystem to things like climate change and homelessness. Everything that we do inside of our ecosystem generates revenue, and we take a portion of that revenue and give it back to the world that we live in, because the metaverse exists inside the physical world, and we have to look after that too. So thanks for your time today. That is Fluff World. Looking forward to answering some interesting questions on the panel coming up.
Great. Thank you for that, Aaron. And next we have Evan Oyang from Animoca, which has been driving digital property rights via NFTs in gaming to build the open metaverse. Now, what we do have from Evan is a video that he's pre-recorded there for yourselves, which will illustrate what is going on within the Animoca ecosystem.
Hello, everyone. My name is Evan Yang, and I'm the president of Animoca Brands. I'm very happy to be here today to share with you what we do as a company, as well as what we see as opportunities in Web3. So let me share my presentation. Where we are today in terms of the internet space in this evolution is that we're in Web 3.0. Whereas in the 90s in Web 1.0, it's really a static web where you can only read the internet, where it doesn't interact with you. In Web 2.0, about 10 years later, which is driven by platforms, mobile commerce, you can read and write, so you can publish at the same time. And then rose the social media age, the platforms like Facebook, Google, etc. And now we're in the space of ownership, where you can, through the blockchain, read, write, and own, therefore creating networks of virtual economies. And the underpinning technology there is the blockchain, which leads to decentralization of the web and power away from the platforms as we see it in Web 2.0. Now, it is very important to understand that Web 3.0 is not exactly the same as Metaverse. Whereas Web 3.0 is really the third iteration of the internet powered by the blockchain and digital asset ownership. It's really about decentralized ledger technology, blockchain, cryptocurrencies and NFTs are examples of Web3 applications. The Metaverse itself is really about a virtual digital space that allow users to do many things. It could be a virtual reality or augmented reality experience. It can be centralized or decentralized. And it doesn't have to be on blockchain. And therefore, what we talk about is really the Web3 metaverse. It's what we call the real metaverse. And the Web 2 metaverse, where it's centralized and not utilizing blockchain technology, is what we call a fake metaverse. And that's sort of what we believe is the key innovation that we have. And the distinction we want to make is that we want to make a blockchain-based metaverse, which is real. Now we look into Web 2.0, what we call sort of the extractive part of the internet that we would like to evolve from. It is really about data mining, which you and I create data every single day, but the big data platforms mine the data and then on the right-hand side monetizes that data without you benefiting from it. Your users, basically like yourselves, are rewarded based on likes, social interactions, and you get targeted goods and services, but that's really it. And what it ultimately turns to is that these platforms, which are now trying to create metaverses of its own, for instance, Meta, Facebook changed its name to Meta, and it actually said that they want to charge creator fees of up to 47.5% for your creations, right? And we believe that is not the right way of enabling real digital asset ownership, because you're still subject to the platform and the platform's rules. What we see today, instead of Web 1 and Web 2, where data is copied, under blockchain, ownership is then transferred because of the ability of the blockchain to sit on distributed networks where there are assets that can be owned digitally, right? And this is a big change, where we now believe that the internet of value is then enabled. What does true digital asset ownership really means, right? If let's say you purchase a virtual car, right? You can do whatever you want with it, right? Change the driver, change the color, change the wheels, etc. You can put it on a marketplace such as OpenSea without any permission from, let's say, any mocha brands that have sold it to you. You can do whatever you want with it, as opposed to any gaming asset that currently sits in the Web 2 space is a game asset, and you don't truly own it. You cannot take a weapon or an item and sell it anywhere without the permission of that particular game itself. So composability is a very, very important aspect of digital asset ownership. And about Animoca Brands, we are a very fast growing company. We are at the valuation of about $6 billion right now after our latest fundraising, and we're recognized to be one of the top companies in this space. And we are a company that is headquartered in Hong Kong, but with footprint all over the world. Some of our assets would include, these are not even updated slides because we actually have a lot of investment, a lot of business units now, but we have a sort of, more casual gaming like Gamey, Arcade, collectibles like Quid, Ref is motorsports, Sandbox is a very famous metaverse game, and then we also have AAA games like Blowfish, Enway, etc. Now, what we do overall is that we operate companies. So the portfolio companies that we just talked about are what we operate. So they enter into our ecosystem, and we NFT or tokenize their economies, and then allow for interactions to be taken place to create these virtual economies. On the right-hand side is really one of investment. So we invest alongside many different verticals and across the ecosystem and the value chain, because we believe we're a facilitator of the growth in this space. And in between, we have the proprietary know-how where we think about innovation, which is about the blockchain engine that we've then created, such as blockchain, tokenomics, design, etc. And finally, we are a purposeful company. We believe in building a open Web3 ecosystem. We believe in positively transforming how next generation live and work through what we call universal basic equity, which is about digital asset ownership, allowing people to own your own data, and then creating income as a result of that. We believe that creativity and time should be rewarded by meaningful jobs, living, working in the metaverse. And we also have a multi-stakeholder approach. So it's beyond just shareholder value. It's also about delivery of shared value across the stakeholders that we have. And we'd like to do it in a sustainable manner. So that's my introduction today. And thank you very much.
Thank you for that, Evan. And finally, we have our fourth speaker, which is Dr. Sunil Kim from the Korean Arts Promotion Agency. Dr. Kim, if you'd like to introduce yourself.
안녕하세요.
Yes, hello. I am Sunil Kim. I'm leading KAPA, Korea Arts Promotion Agency. It is my great pleasure to be here to speak about our agency's works. Today I'm going to talk about how we will...
Promotion Agency, Kim Sunil. Thank you for having me here. My presentation today is about the appreciation of artwork in the Metaverse world.
As you know, Metaverse is a space where creators and artists are all connected together. And in the Metaverse platform market, you can see that there are games and artworks and many different objects that are traded. And if you look at the total landscape, NFT products are being liked, and avatar and VR and augmented realities are already presented and being transacted as well. And these can be enjoyed at Virtual Seoul and the National Brand Center as well. You can see that overcoming the limitations of space, we can offer different types of exhibitions, fairs, and exhibition centers can be used as well. There are many different communication types, and we can deliver the news and what is going on to our audience, and we can provide one-on-one consultation with buyers as well. At the same time, through real-time streaming, conference can be held as well. The future of using Metaverse for art exhibition is promising and great. We can go beyond the border between virtual and physical world, and I believe that by doing so, the arts world is going to further improve.
The video soon.
감사합니다.
Thank you for watching the presentation.
Wow, that was super interesting. I can hardly wait to see where all this metaverse madness leads us. Okay, Trent, time to kick off the panel.
Thank you, Sophia, and thank you to our speakers for their presentations. Now we head into the panel part of today, where we will ask our speakers some questions to delve deeper into how they're looking at the metaverse. I'm going to ask the first question just of Aaron, Karen, and Evan, and then I'll ask a follow-up question to that to yourself, Dr. Kim. So Aaron, Karen, and Evan, can you give us an understanding of how you and your project or your business is approaching the metaverse and or open metaverse? And Aaron, if you'd like to lead us off.
Yeah, I think like the most important thing to get an understanding of is what is the open metaverse. We hear the term metaverse a lot, and often people think about virtual worlds or games, and people often say they're building a metaverse. And I like to think that those are things that have always existed, and what we need to think about is what's new. We've always had games. We've always had the ability to, be in virtual spaces and play in virtual spaces. What's new is a couple of things. One is the metaverse is the collection of applications and content that is interoperable with each other. Just building an app that has your own content locked into it, you can't really call that the metaverse. That's just a game or an app. And so having interoperable content that can exist in multiple applications, I think is a really important differentiator. The other thing that's really important, I think, is the notion of user ownership. Ivan talked about this earlier. So the ability for users to own the content, the data, the identity that they take with them between these applications is a really important defining feature. And you can really only do that if the infrastructure which stores that content is owned by communities. That's why the blockchain and associated Web3 decentralized technologies are really important, because they truly give ownership. Otherwise, if someone else hosts that content, they can turn the data center off, you never really own it. And so having this underlying infrastructure that's community owned is really important. I think the last part is it's not just about games or virtual spaces, it's about the collapsing of the user experience for a lot of different things that were silos of industries before. If you think about things like commerce or finance or media or communications, it's collapsing all of those things into a single user experience where they used to be separate interfaces for the user. So really it's about encompassing all of the things that our world interacts with in a digital sense into that one user experience or into that more immersive user experience. So it's a very big thing and big part of where our society and will interact and where value will be transacted in the future.
Right. And what would your comments be on that for Illuvium there, Karen?
Karen might be muted.
I think you're muted there, Karen.
Sorry, it wasn't allowing me to unmute myself. Yeah, I'm so glad that I heard Aaron say that. Too often we talk about individual metaverses, and I'm sorry, it just doesn't exist. Facebook can call themselves Meta or the metaverse all they want, but it goes against the very definition. So it's not correct. Certainly not in my opinion anyway. In terms of, I certainly agree with the interoperability of the metaverse, and certainly the type of thing that Aaron is building, that makes sense to me, that you can have a world where you can bring in other assets, because there isn't balancing, there isn't a real world economy in that type of a universe or that type of a world. Correct me if I'm wrong, Aaron. I don't know if you have plans to build that out, but that's where it works, right? That's where you can bring a Bored Ape in and it's not going to affect their economy. in our case, in Illuvium, right, we would love to talk about this beautiful dystopian narrative of where you can bring in your World of Warcraft characters and all of a sudden people are playing Axes inside of Illuvium and vice versa. It's just not even close to possible, right, at the moment. And so what we've focused on is the things that we can control, and that's the ability to integrate NFTs into all of our games and make them interoperable within our universe. And so, for example, our cute little characters, our alluvials, if we were to create a Mario Kart style game and you were inside the Illuvium overworld, you see an atlas and you capture it, right? You chuck a shot at it, you beat it, and you capture it. You could then take that atlas and you could use it as your character in this Mario Kart style game, and we would be able to control the balancing of that. It wouldn't affect our economy because we're utilizing the same fuel structure that we're using across all of the different games. And so we can seamlessly integrate that. And that's how we see our own universe of games. It's the next step on from your typical mainstream games where that's not even possible within, you know, your own studio IP. Whereas with NFTs, it's very easy to do that within your own universe. And we're certainly super excited to be able to showcase that pretty much for the first time.
Yeah, I think you're right, Kieran. Like the notion that everything will be interoperable isn't a good one, or the notion that there's one super world where everything exists in, I think is a flawed one as well. People like you are creating a narrative and a story and lore around your piece of content, and that has to be respected. Like dropping a fluff into that world would make no sense. But the optionality for users who own that content to build other applications around it that can use that content is what the metaverse is all about. Maybe it doesn't fit in your world, but it could fit in someone else's, and they have that choice as owners of the content. I think the other thing that Illuvium really highlights is how two things that were separate before are being smashed together again. So you had finance and gaming, right? They're two like totally different worlds, but you're actually bringing those together in a new thing called GameFi. And so this kind of merging of different silos of the economy into one more immersive experience is Illuvium's a really good example of two of those things coming together.
And so, Evan, and we saw in the presentation how Animoca is looking at Web3 and the open metaverse. And what comments would you add to that, particularly in relation to the interoperability that Kieran and Aaron are talking about?
Yeah, so I think I'm not going to repeat a lot of what Kieran and Aaron said, because there are definitely broad principles of Web3, and I would agree with what these gentlemen said already. But from us, it really is about a couple of things, right? In terms of what's the real metaverse in the Web3, what isn't. It's really about governance, ownership, which you have to have ownership. Governance needs to be decentralized. Ideally, everything that we do, at least in Animoca, needs to become decentralized to become DAO in terms of how we govern those. Composability, which we alluded to a little bit as well. So, and once you have ownership, you can compose around that. Interoperability itself is important. Of course, it's something that we within the Animoca ecosystem, for the assets that we have either majority ownership or full ownership of, we will try to make them interoperable. And within the 300 companies that we have in our portfolio, we will obviously encourage that. And obviously, lastly, is tradability, right? Permissionless tradability. Again, all of these things, right, do not exist under a centralized platform, which we do see in Web3, and it's the ethos of why we do what we do. In terms of our approach, the way we look at it is that we're trying to facilitate entrepreneurship in such a nascent industry, where we obviously self-built some of our assets, like the Ref ecosystem, self-built, Tower, self-built. Sandbox was an acquisition, but early. But then with our portfolio companies, we hope to work with them because they are very competent entrepreneurs or founders, either in the gaming space and other spaces along the ecosystem. So we're trying to facilitate that their contribution in the metaverse by providing capital and know-how. So we focus a lot on that part of it, meaning that our know-how, our philosophy around the token economy design. Sometimes a lot is quite philosophical, and then how do you build community? Those things seem to be very quote unquote generic and easy in the free-to-play space or past gaming environments, but it's actually philosophically quite different in the Web3 space, because again, it's not about the whales that are the 1 or 2% that will actually pay the free-to-play games for those economies to thrive. It's really about benefiting the wider community, which democratizes ownership, right? So that's our approach. It's quite philosophical.
Great. Thanks for that, Evan.
And Animoca is actually an investor in us, and I think Illuvium as well, right?
Yeah.
I think Animoca's invested in 99% of all metaverse projects.
Only the good ones with great guys like you guys, obviously.
I think Animoca certainly has made a pretty deep impact on this planet in terms of the metaverse and Web3. And so, Dr. Kim, just across there to yourself, can you talk us through how Galaxy Metaverse is approaching the overall metaverse and where you see the greatest impact?
Yes, there is a Galaxy series program that we launched and operated, and I think we created a space where VR and mixed reality and AR were all successfully featured. And recently, we're working to create exhibition spaces on smartphones as well. I think this is going to continue to expand, and there's going to be no more borders between the real life and the exhibition centers as well. Of course, there is some technologies and sciences that are going to be used, but art and arts culture and exhibitions themselves are going to bring a breath of warmth in this new digital world based on technologies and sciences. Even though technologies are important, I think the homework for artists and people like us would be how we are going to put a human touch on top of these different connections and technologies. That is why many artists are working very hard to be gathered in these spaces, and 20,000 to 30,000 artists already applied to be part of our projects and programs. Not just young people, but older generations of artists can come, and also older generations of viewers and visitors can enjoy our creations. We would like to create an impressive environment where they can enjoy arts, and then visual impacts can be maximized through some of the efforts. Galaxy Series Metaverse is joined by computer developers who can come up with ways to effectively showcase our artworks. And I think we're continuing our work.
The Metaverse of Galaxy Village, an affiliated organization of the Korea Arts Promotion Agency, is rapidly evolving from a two-dimensional online platform that we use to enjoy watching monitors to a three-dimensional virtual reality, augmented reality, mixed reality, and extended reality. I recently signed a business agreement with SmartCube, and I am moving rapidly. The virtual space of this Galaxy Village will expand infinitely in the future to realize more realistic avatars, reproducing vivid technologies that can make us confuse reality and virtual world. The encounter between technology and art is inevitable. Technology opens up a mysterious world by performing three-dimensional and precise tasks, and art plays a role in inspiring emotionless mechanical stabilization and filling up the contents. In the future, the metaverse will be in chaos between virtual and real life through holographic techniques. Technological development is a problem to solve in the scientific field, but the problem that the artwork has to solve is to adapt to rapidly developing scientific technology along with creative activities. I am taking the lead in managing copyrights and protecting rights of artists in preparation for the metaverse world. Therefore, with the trust and response of numerous artists, 20,000 works are currently on display online, and new additional works are being submitted every day. The metaverse world is not only possible for young people who are good at digital devices, but also for older people to easily get access. We are creating an environment that can adapt to the rapidly changing metaverse world. In addition, we are doing our best to maximize the realistic feeling and visual effect by providing an exhibition in the form of 3D images and 360 degrees images based on the actual image in order to impress people who watch artworks through Metaverse. I would like to share my artwork through close cooperation with computer developers who will guide me to the amazing world of Galaxy Village Metaverse. Preparation continued for a wonderful encounter between science and art in a second life that transcends time and space.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Kim. And I'm going to throw this out to the floor, so whoever would like to, I guess, put their hand up to answer it first. But essentially, can you advise on what is the importance of the metaverse? What is the ultimate vision and purpose of the metaverse? With Generation Alpha being stated as the generation of digital transformation, what do you expect life would be like in 15 years from now?
디지털 전환을 통해서 메타버스에서
Go ahead.
Oh, sorry, you go.
Well, I'll be quick. I mean, this is the you can see that as we see the youngsters. I mean, I have my preteen daughter and teenage son who are spending increasingly more and more time meeting friends, obviously physically, but a lot of them now in the virtual space without actually knowing their identity. It's a different world that we see out there, right? And with digital asset ownership enabled by the Web3 ecosystem, that's a layer of what we call universal basic equity, where you could actually spend your time on the third iteration of internet, where you're owning a piece of time that you create and the culture that you're part of, and monetize based on that, and potentially have real careers over that. And that's extremely empowering. So we can imagine that as we go along, and as our civilization exists, we believe that part of our lives will be in this digital ownership space. So, in terms of what we call the general term metaverse, it really is existing under the Web3 frame of ownership, right? Which is very important. Composability, communities, where we feel that there will be better governance, better societies in that way. Don't want to go too far and kind of like too maxy about this thing, but then I think the future is very bright for industry. But initially, it will be wild. It will be pretty wild in terms of ride, and we're seeing it already.
Yeah. Sorry. For me, it's about being decentralized, right? It's about giving the power back to the participants, and in whatever way that might be, whether you're shopping, whether you're gaming, whether you're seeing friends in the metaverse, you're voting in a governance thing, whatever it is. Most of the protocols and projects that are launching in Web3 do it in a decentralized manner. And it's always about giving power back to those people, whereas it's just not possible to do that in Web2. And I think that's why we're seeing the emergence of Web3, because people want ownership, right? They want to know that they own the things that they create in a digital world, And that's a huge shift that I think we're still in the very, very early stages of people even understanding why is an NFT so powerful versus it being owned by a centralized organization that can literally take it away from you at any point in time.
If I could be a little bit more philosophical, if we kind of gaze into the future, our society is becoming more and more digital. That's something that's not going to change. That path is kind of accelerating, if anything. And so the things that we value in society more and more are going to be digital things. And you know, whether that's kind of creative things or if that's actually representations of physical value that exists in the world as well. So the more and more things become digital, the more and more the digital world becomes important to us as society. And right now, the infrastructure that supports the digital world is controlled by a very small group of people. And so if we let that continue into this next version of the internet, this more immersive version of the internet, then we're going down a path where we're handing society over to these companies. And that's why building the open metaverse and building it on Web3 principles is really important. It's not just about a game interface or going into some cool world to hang out with your friends. It's where the economy, it's where society, it's where work, it's where creativity will exist in the future. And we have to own that as communities rather than corporations. So, you know, so if we looked at where those things broke down in terms of those silos, if all of those things end up being in the metaverse, then that makes up a huge part of our lives and we don't control that. That's a scary thought. So it's about all of the things that people have said, but it's not about gaming. It's about the future of society existing in this more digital space, and we have to be the owners of it.
Okay, and so in terms of being that this is in South Korea, which is, as we know, is one of the most digitally connected societies in the world. As part of this digital New Deal, the South Korean government committed $187 million to building out a metaverse ecosystem for the country. How do you see an ecosystem like this potentially interacting or interoperating with others in the West?
I think that's really, really good news to hear stuff like that. Firstly, you know, I think governments that are investing in this are definitely ahead of the curve. You know, as Aaron's saying, this is where the world is moving towards, but it's not easy to build an interoperable, connected metaverse, right? It requires a ton of collaboration, and so I would say, similarly to how these decentralized autonomous organizations are forming now all across the world and literally being run through things like a Discord server, like ourselves in Illuvium, we've got 250 people across 37 different countries. Collaboration digitally is critical. And so I would say that these hubs of and these ecosystems, the South Korean ecosystem needs to be collaborating directly with North American ecosystems and, you know, other Asian ecosystems, European ecosystems, and we all need to be collaborating in a way where Fluff World, for example, is talking directly with the guys from Yuga Labs who are building out the Bored Apes universe, because that's the type of that's the type of project where you can get that interoperability. And but it requires a lot of collaboration still. You know, a Bored Ape can't just pop up into Fluff World without them, you know, talking about what sort of configuration those NFTs need to be and specifications, law requirements, like all of the different things that they're building already in their world, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I think also like so kind of the thing that I think South Korea is really good at is, you know, implementing technology standards as well. And so when we talk about interoperability, if some of that work and investment goes into defining standards for asset interoperability, particularly because it affects hardware, which is something that you're really strong in South Korea. So, everything starts from the tin up, and being able to build open systems or open content systems or open worlds relies on having open things at the lower layers as well. So, promoting open technologies like Samsung has done with Android and in other domains, like in the engine space with Web GPU or those kinds of things, I think would be a really important part of being South Korea being a leader in this space. So use the skills and the assets and the capabilities you already have to fix some of those problems that we're experiencing at the higher layers, because you're operating at those lower layers and you have really good expertise there.
And also one thing that is important is about the South Korean assets is the cultural elements of it, right? I mean, the be it television or K-pop or whatever, it's really taking global the global audiences by storm, right? Where traditionally is the Western media and the pop culture is permeated through these through all of us global, including Asia and the rest of the world. Now it's a Korean culture that is permeating throughout all aspects of society, including the Western world. So those cultural assets are absolutely awesome. They're transformative. They are actually they foster much more global understanding of globalized world. And like Kieran said, we are also a multinational company with presence and employees all over the world, right? And we don't work on sort of like where we're based. And in terms of collaboration across what we call the metaverse here, it's a truly global workforce building something that is for a global audience. And that is just itself a very, very powerful thing when you decentralize it into that kind of ownership, that equity that allows universal access to it. That is just something very, very powerful.
And I'm just conscious of time there, but let's have some closing remarks. Dr. Kim, would you like to have any closing remarks for this beautiful metaverse panel?
Yes, what I like about NFT is that NFT is a pathway to create a music, art, paintings, and many different genres of arts. I think NFT is opening up more opportunities for more creators, and the total asset value is going to increase. But at the same time, we should be able to provide a protection mechanism for the original creators.
What I like about NFT is that it is also a great harvest in the art world, and that NFT continues to produce new and ingenious creation through art, music, and video, and the creation of star-class artists, along with the development of digital arts. In the future, NFT transactions will be more valuable as they expand. However, in order for the future of NFT to be guaranteed, copyright protection of the original artist must be secured, and a more discrete computer security system must be developed in order to prevent damage from hacking.
Great, thank you, Dr. Kim. And if we could just get a 20, 30-second last word from each of the other speakers. Aaron from sunny New Zealand, if you can hit us with one of your pearls of wisdom.
Yeah, no, I think the most important thing is, if you're trying to figure out and how this affects you, is that it probably will. So do some research. Whether your business is going to be impacted or not, I think is a matter of fact, and at some point, maybe not immediately. So get out there and learn, see more of these conferences, read up on some of the blogs. I'm sure some of the people in this panel here have written some great things for you to understand what the metaverse is about, and then see how you can create more efficiencies in the things that you do, or provide a better customer experience by collapsing some of those boundaries into a more seamless experience inside of the metaverse.
Thanks, Aaron. And Karen?
Yeah, I'd just say, if you're in South Korea and you're watching this, there's probably a high chance that you're into esports. I know that right now there's no esports games available in blockchain. There's just not that quality there. We're attempting to fill that gap. And so if you're into League of Legends or World of Warcraft or whatever, we are the game for you, and it is coming. So just hold the line.
Nice. And Evan, if you could lead us off.
Yeah, no, it's great. I think for all of us watching the space, there's a DeFi space and NFT space as well. It's you're seeing some volatility, right? And here and there will be, because of innovation or how early it is. Don't look for things that are sort of like, what the buzz is. Do your own research. The ethos and what we're building in terms of decentralized world that's owning that would perpetuate more and more ownership, that is very, very real, and it will continue as this innovation continues. So don't worry about the noise, but think about where's the community voting. Therefore, for you personally, where do you belong in this space? How would you engage? And you see that the industry will prosper from there.
Great, thank you. And thank you to all of our panelists and speakers today for their insights and for sharing their knowledge of the metaverse. Hopefully, you all were able to take something away with you from this discussion. And Sophia, what were your thoughts on that?
Thanks everyone for your incredible insights on Metaverse Madness. Let us turn the table over to Queenie and her NFT revolution.